Welcome to the 1 Million Years of Joy podcast. I'm Dr. Andrea Benaker, your host, and my intention is to inspire you to find more joy in your life through the stories from our guests and the science on joy and purpose. Isabelle, welcome. It's such a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you. It's such an honor for me to be in your talk. And I love so much being with you. I love your vibes.
Thank you. You know, the feeling is very mutual, Isabelle. So it is an immense pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank you.
So I want to dive into a lot of the beautiful work that you've been doing over many years now. And you've been truly at the forefront of leading purposeful businesses for over 2 decades. What sparked your commitment to making business a force for good? And how has your personal purpose evolved in this process?
This is a good question. Yes. My DNA, my purpose in life is to really help business become a force for good. And I think the clock is ticking louder than ever. But as you say, so it's been, I think, 3 decades now since I've been working on this. And I've always wanted to contribute to a better world, actually. And people around me, my friends, my family would even say to change the world for better future. So this has always been inside me. And I've chosen business. Why is that? I'm I'm fully aware of the challenges that we are facing in the world. I've always been, and it could scare us. And where I manage, if I may say, my fear is action, is to drive action. And I believe so much in business driving actions. I've dedicated my life to that. So in 2021, I realized that we were at a tipping point, an acceleration point, if I may say, when businesses had no other choice than really to embrace purpose at the core of their activity. And I believe that, in fact, only companies with a positive impact will thrive, chosen by people, people being employees, clients, partners, and investors tomorrow. So I think this is the theory of change that I've seen happening. So the question was not anymore about the why, but the question was about the how. And this is when I decided not to just to serve one leadership team, as I was the catalyst of Danone, but I decided to create Goodness & Co., which is a platform to serve the courageous leaders around the world to shift purpose into practice.
Wonderful. And if we really dive deep now into some practical insights, how can businesses integrate sustainability into their models in a way that drives both the financial success and also the positive societal impact?
I think there is a way actually to reconcile both your positive impact and performance. And I think that to have an amazing impact, an amazing performance, an amazing positive impact, it's really by combining both. And actually, it's like for human, there is nothing in life that is success if you don't have a clear contribution. And this is what I call purpose for company, is that why they are in business beyond doing profit, of course. So what is their contribution to the world? This is the first step. That's the critical fundamental of the house, if I may say. The second thing is that, okay, once you define your purpose, your strategy in regards to the areas of impact, let's call it this way, the reality is that it cannot be set aside. The time is over, that it was the CSO's role, 10 years ago. That's not anymore the case. It needs to be everyone's business. So this strategy, this engagement in regards to social environmental commitment, basically, needs to be in every decision. So if you are running a company, basically the way you innovate, so the innovation by design needs to have the positive impact at the core or within that decision, not the only thing, but part of it. It's also part of the way you evaluate the performance of your people. If people have incentives that are on the regular P&L performance, that's not possible. It's about alignment. It needs to be at the core of everything you do in business, what drives your decision. And then, so that's simple to say. It's more challenging, if I may say, to put in place because you have a lot of resistance because it's about change. And change is not easy. If you reinvent the way you do business, it does require to change things. And the only way to succeed, from what I've seen in those 3 decades, is really I see a difference between companies that succeed versus others. There is one single thing is the ability to harness the power of people around them. People being, employees, being stakeholders around them, but how much do they co-build? How much do they empower them? How much do they give them a chance to co-build the agenda? This is absolutely critical in the journey. So if I may say 3 things, one is imagine or defining your purpose or imagining the force for good you can be. The second is really to act in consistency, because it's easy to be courageous one day, but it's more challenging to be consistent in your decision. And the third is really to engage people around you to make this shift happen.
Love everything that you have shared, Isabel. And as sustainability is becoming a competitive advantage that truly allows organizations to attract talent that want to embark on this beautiful journey of positive transformation for our world, do you now think that joy in the workplace can also be a competitive advantage for organization? And if so, how?
I remember when we met and you told me about your research around joy. I was so impressed. I went to look at it, and it's true to be fair. I have never used this word or the semantic of joy in regards to the culture of business or attracting talents or the way to act. But if I may, have been thinking about it, and I've read since we met some of your amazing work, and thank you so much because the world needs your work. But I think that I use similar, and maybe please, Andrea, please, I think that it needs to be a discussion also for the listener of this podcast. But I believe that I call it love, if I may say. So
Mhm.
if business is a force for good, is about, this is why the name of my company is called Goodness and Co. Is the quality of being kind, honest, fair, helpful. It can refer to organizational people about the action, their behavior, but it has generosity to it. So generosity in the we believe in human kindness, in organization being a force for good. And this is, for me, it's kind of intertwined with joy. So it's a culture of joy, is a culture of harnessing the power of people around you. It's about believing in people, believing in business as a force for good. And this is critical. So I believe this is critical. And for that, of course, purpose is the fundamental.
Yes, and a lot of the research that we have done around joy actually indicates a very clear correlation between having purpose actually being a catalyst for experiencing more joy. And whether we use generosity, whether we use love, joy, at the end of the day, it's really about fueling those positive emotions, because there's decades of research in positive psychology and neuroscience that is indicating that when people experience those positive emotions, actually their cognitive levels increase. And consequently, they can be more creative, they can be more productive, they can have higher levels of memory as well and retain information more easily. And these are the key realities that we need to bring more of within the organization to truly tackle the complexities of the problems that we have in front of us.
Mm.
So really happy to see that we're very aligned.
Yes, yes. Our experience and our experimentation on a daily basis with the business as a force for good is really highlighting in real life your research. This is what exactly we are fully aligned.
I love that. So when we think now specifically in terms of leaders, what key traits do you think CEOs need to possess to lead businesses that truly make a positive impact on people and society?
So, you know that we are in the process of reinventing the way we do business, right? So, for that, there is no other way than to rethink leadership. And rethink leadership. For me, leader is about, leading with conviction. Just it's cannot work otherwise. So it's about leading with conviction. It's not anymore about being a superhero like probably in the 80s, because this has been not the case in the last decades. But it's really about being a purpose-led leader. It's about driving the change and, harnessing the power of people around them. So very much about being open and heads and hearts. I'm always talking about heads and hearts being super important in everything you do. This is what I try to do every single day. When I have challenging decision, I try to connect with heads and hearts on what matters. And if I may, and I've written a lot about it and I've done a lot of research, I think there is one essential spark that is needed right now when we talk about leadership for change is courage. And courage, why? Because it is not easy to change. Change is not easy. There are major challenges in the world, so it does require courage to change the way we operate. And courage is the strength of heart, the fortitude that helps you guide your decision in challenging situations. So for me, there will be no transformation without courageous leadership.
I love that. And since you mentioned that you've written a lot about it, I know that you have recently launched your book. Can you tell us more about that?
I just launched, actually, I have my book next to me, so I'm going to show it. So it's called Business as a Force for Good: How Courageous Leaders Can Shift Purpose into Practice. And I just launched it at the Climate Week in New York because we are all conscious that time is now. And the question is not anymore about the why, but about the how. So I wanted to showcase from our experience what matters to bring this to life, and that it is possible. And it's also all about people. So I have the chance, and I'm grateful for meeting so many amazing leaders. And I focus my energy, I must say, to the courageous leaders of the world. My goal, my purpose is really to help the courageous leaders of the world. So this is why this book is about them and sharing what I've learned along this journey.
Fantastic, and congratulations. I know the level of effort it takes to actually publish a book. And there's also a component of courage as well, because you're truly immersing yourself on paper and sharing everything that you believe is just so important to bring about that transformation. So thank you for bringing this gift into the business world.
Thank you.
And as we're talking about these positive transformation, what excites you the most about the future of purposeful businesses and their potential to shape a better world? And how can we actually all take part in creating that future with joy?
So, what excites me is that I'm very driven by helping the pioneers of the world to demonstrate a business being a force for good. So, I'm excited by the fact that some businesses are demonstrating that, so that they are not just part of the solution, they are the solution. I'm exaggerating a little, but it's just to share with you my point is that business is really the key of our society to contribute to social progress. That's my conviction, and I'm dedicating all my energy to that, and I'm bringing people along to drive this change.
Can you share with us some of the most striking environmental related statistics that you keep referring to and that you wish that we would be all able to collectively reverse and change the bar and make sure we're all evolving in the positive direction? What has shocked you the most in terms of the negative impacts actually of our collective actions, whether it's on oceans, whether it's on the overall environment, and so on?
So what strikes me the most, I remember a very specific moment where area in the world where I took my team also there, is I'm a mountain girl. And I love being in the Alps and I love hiking. And I went to La Vallée Blanche, so it's the White Valley in Chamonix, to look at, this area that has been amazing. And when you go down the slopes, it's absolutely astonishing because you are surrounded with mountains everywhere. But at the very bottom of the mountains, you need to take a few stairs to go back up to a little train that takes you down to Chamonix. And here, believe me, you have screens next to the steps about which date where snow up to. I don't know if I'm making myself super clear, but let's say that you really see an acceleration like For the first 20 stairs, it took 3 years. And then the next 20 stairs, it took probably 10 years. And the next 20 stairs, it took 50 years. So you really see the acceleration of climate change. And this really strikes me so much.
It's tremendously impactful, as you're saying. And there was also one statistic that I was listening to, that we will have in the next couple of years more plastic in the ocean
Yeah.
than we actually have fish. So I would say the complexity of the sustainability challenge that we have is often tied also to our consumption. And as I think about some of the listeners on this podcast, where can these individuals start to have a more positive impact personally on the environment?
I would challenge the fact that you would encourage people to think about themselves without their own organization, because I believe that every single voice counts. And as we were sharing statistic, there is one statistic that I look at, or that I share every single day, so I'm going to share it with you today, is that we only need 10% of the people to shift the system around. And those 10% in companies, they are the pivotal role. And it's not the people at the top, it's people spread across the organization that want to shift the system so they can play a role. Their voice counts. Remember, your voice counts. And then afterwards, on an individual basis, without the companies. But please remember that you are a leader. Everyone is a leader within a company, and you only need 10% of a group to make the system change.
I love that. Very powerful. Isabel, I know you're also actively involved in promoting women in leadership through organizations like Future Women X and the International Women Forum. What changes do you think are still needed to achieve true gender equality in leadership positions?
So, there is something that really brings me energy also, and joy, is being surrounded with amazing women. And I think this is something that matters so much, especially in the last 10 years, I would say. 10 years, yeah, roughly. And I did do this shift 10 years ago. Why? Because I realized, I had no idea before actually, that there was absolutely no gender equality. And so I'm being really tough here, but we all know that if we continue at this current rate of progress, we will need more than 130 years.
Mm.
So, but in our day-to-day life, I remember I had two things that matters. One is that I had a colleague, a man, that I realized he was paid 35% more than me, and we were doing the same job. So I was like, what? And then the second thing is that I was at that time elected co-chair of a global organization in the consumer goods, was reporting to a board of 58 CEOs. And at one point, it was 58 men. So this was not an option. And at that time, I decided that our voice counts. So we had to, first be conscious about it. Second, there is no magic wand, but make sure that you sit at the table. It is about sitting at the table, making sure that your voice counts. And then on this journey, sisterhood, and as you mentioned at the beginning, I just
Yes.
wrote about it, but sisterhood matters so much. It is about helping one another. We, give ourselves energies. We take care of one another. Life is a journey. There are ups and downs. Life is, it's not straightforward. And we know that with our female friends, if I may say, that we can help one another. Definitely, for sure.
Fully agree. That resonates a lot with me. And in this beautiful journey that you've been on, that consisted in driving meaningful change in the corporate world, what's one lesson about joy or fulfillment that you've learned and that you wish you had known earlier in your career?
I think it is linked to what we just discussed, but in a little broader thing, it's choose your tribe. Choose your tribe. And this probably comes also with age, meaning that you need to make choices, at one point. So it's about choosing your tribe. This is what really helps me push the boundaries. And your tribe, can be, your friends, your family, your allies, your clients, your team. It's your tribe. but your tribe has a strong bond. It means that they will be here and you will be here for them, both sides. This is, the way life is. And my tribe nourish my grit because I need a lot of determination to drive the change at the level of ambition that I have for the world. So they fuel me, they nourish me, they challenge me, and they support me, and they give me the hands, which is the most important thing that I've learned.
Beautiful. And if we talk now purely about joy, and if there would actually be a recipe to live a more joyful life, what would you consider the key three main ingredients to be?
When I met you, Andrea, I've thought so much about this. Okay, how can I bring more joy in my life? And I read all your research, etc. And I don't think there is a magic wand, but maybe there are three ingredients that I can share and that you state so well in your research. One is purpose. I mean, be very clear on what you're in the world for. Something much we feel amazing joy when you achieve something that it's much bigger than yourself. It's not about yourself, it's about really contributing to something that it's so big, so greater than you. So it's really about purpose. The second thing, ingredient, and I've learned, and I'm not yet there, but I'm trying to, it's just forget about being perfect. It's okay to let it go. It's just about being authentic, aligns heads and hearts, and it's going to be all right. That's the second thing. And the third thing that I believe brings a lot of joy, and this is discipline also, it's gratitude. It's about being, grateful for all the amazing things that are happening to you, all the amazing people that you're surrounded with. And, just finish your day by thinking about, oh, what are those three things that I feel grateful for that happen in my day? I think this brings me joy.
Wonderful. And I want to talk more a little bit about purpose. How did you find your purpose, and what advice would you give to some of the younger generations out there that are reflecting on this and trying to actually find their purpose? And what is the importance of having, in your view, both components attached to purpose that relate to not only an altruistic component, but also a selfish component? Because from my experience, particularly after I had my first brain operation, one of the key areas that really became very clear to me was the importance to have both the selfish and the altruistic dimension to purpose. Because if you're too much invested in doing something that is just like so positive for the world, for the people around us, but we forget about ourselves in the process, we will no longer maybe have the energy to be able to make that positive contribution. So take us through the process that you went through to build your purpose, and what are your views on the selfish and altruistic dimension of purpose?
These are a challenging question. So, how did I find my purpose? I think that I didn't do any work on that. I think that I was born this way. I remember, and I'm sharing that in my book because I give also in my book about me. But I remember that I had a cousin that was about to die from leukemia. He was my age. We were 20 years old, and we were in his bedroom, and he was asking us, like 18 to 20. I was here with my sister and his brother, and he was asking us, so what do you want people to say to your funeral? I was like, I never thought about that. And my sister started by saying, oh, I want to be known and I want to be thanked for being an amazing wife, an amazing mother, very family driven. And she has always been and will always be. And she's doing a much broader thing, saving lives. So it's much bigger than that, but this is how she expressed herself. And then there was my cousin that said, oh, I want to people to see that, hear that I was so friendly, so nice to people, a fun buddy to hang out with, etc. And then I didn't know what to say. And I said, well, I would like all this, but I would like also that people would say that I did contribute a little to make this place a better world. So, and I was 18 and I had no workshops, a coach at that time. It's something that was in me, I think. What I would encourage young people to do when they think about their purpose is ask their tribe.
Mhm.
Ask their tribe, because your tribe loves you. They want you to, strive, and they know really what you're good at, if I may say. Because I think that you'll strive on something that you care about, on a topic you care about. And I think that there is, of course, if you care about things, you work with people you care about, then you reconcile both things. So this would be my recommendation, and to dare to think big. Even if we may fail 100 times, it's okay.
And talking about the selfish dimension, would you care to elaborate on that, on your views on, because you can dream very big, but as I said, if you're losing yourself in the process, that's not going to necessarily create more leaders that can actually have a positive impact. So what are yourselves in finding that optimal harmony between being altruistic and selfish at the same time while pursuing a grandiose purpose?
So I'm not going to say that I'm going to give any advice because I'm really bad at that. But I'm going to share with you. So every time I come back from vacation, every 6 months, I'm like, okay, now I'm going to realign, take care of myself, practice sports, which I don't do so much. But I'm trying, for instance, to have, again, my tribe. I'm I'm telling my tribe, okay, this is my promise to myself. In the next 6 months, I want to do this, that, which can be sport, can be taking more time for yourself or with your friends, and then I'm accountable because I tell them. So when you keep the secret to yourself, then it's easy to to go over it. But when you start to tell it to your tribe, and then you ask them to make sure that they challenge you, because they are, they take care of you. So they challenge you if you're not up to your promise.
I love that. And do you have any final tips or words of wisdom for our listeners when it comes to having a positive impact on the world while also experiencing more joy in their lives?
So I think that I'm going to share a couple of things. So one is that I believe that but it's very important. It's as simple as that. Be the change you want to see in the world. And I think this is just the way life goes, and this is where you really experience joy. And for that, keep an open heart. Keep an open heart, because otherwise nothing will happen. You may be hurt, because being open heart, meaning that you may be hurt, but it's okay, because otherwise you're not going to experience any joy. This would be my call to action.
Love that. So, on these beautiful words, Isabelle, it's been an immense pleasure to speak with you today. Thank you so much for your time and really look forward to reading your book soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I love being with you. Thank you so much.